Hi there. Today we are going to create a classic game of rock, paper, scissors using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Whether you are new to coding or looking for a fun project, this tutorial has something for everyone. I upload unique project videos every week. Make sure to subscribe our channel Sharat Chandar K and hit that notification bell to stay updated with our latest content. First, let's take a look at what we'll be creating today. Our game will allow players to choose rock, paper or scissors. Once we click, the tool will automatically make the selection and it starts the animation with two humans shaking their hands. It feels like we are playing a real game. And then computer will pick a random choice, will display the results and determine the winner. With color change of the winner and top will display number of wins by user and CPU. If we select any other option, tool will reset the results, will get the animation effect and will display the results as well. Here we can select or play n number of times with CPU. If you really enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. If you have any questions or suggestions, make sure to subscribe. Your support means a lot. That helps me to create more content for you. Now let's jump into the code. Let's open this project folder in my favorite code editor, Visual Studio Code. Let me know your favorite and why in our comment box below. Inside the directory, I have already created the index.html, style.css and script.js. In the index.html, I have added the HTML boilerplate with the help of exclamation mark. Along with that, I have changed the title to Rock, Paper, Scissor by Sharat Chandar K. And below I have linked other two files, and then below I have linked other files to use the font awesome icons with the help of font awesome CDN. Inside the body I am going to add the div with class of container. In Visual Studio Code, we have a embed abbreviation to use dot container. If I hit enter, it will automatically create the div tag with class attribute with the value of container. Inside this container, I am going to add one more div with game score. Inside the game score, I am going to create two h3. For that, I will use h3 and then asterisk with 2. If I hit enter, it will create a 2h3 element here. First one as user and inside that I will add one span tag with ID of user score. Default I will set to 0. The same thing I will add for CPU. I will add the span tag inside this with the value of 0 and will set the ID of CPU score. Below to this game score, we'll add one more div with class of playground. Inside this, I will add one more div with result field. Inside this result field, we need to add two more div. One is for user select and another one is for CPU select. For the user select, I will create a div with user select. Inside this, I will add the I tag. This will help us to set the icons with FA solid, FA back first. Then same thing, I will copy this div and I will place below to this. Instead of user, I will change to bot select. Then icon will be the same. Below to the result feed, we need to add one more h1 with the ID of results. This will contains what is the determined results for the user or computer. Will say let's play as default. Based on the selection, it will automatically change and will display who's the winner and what is the result of that game. And below to this, I will add one more div with play option. Inside this play option, we are going to create three more cards with card asterisk of 3. Inside the first card, I will add the same icon what above I am using and I will paste it here. Below to this, I will use h4 element to mention this is rock. For the same thing, I will add to the second code and then I will change the icon class, and below I will add one more h4. We'll say this is a paper. Third card as one more icon with FA and scissors, and again one more h4 element and we'll say scissors. Let us see our HTML file in action. For that, in Visual Studio Code we have an extension called Go Live. In the status bar, once we click, the tool will automatically load our project into the default browser. Here we can see the divs of user and CPU for the score, and this is what the icon we have used for FA and fist, and these are the three chords. Now we need to style this. For that I need to jump to the style.css. I have already added the import URL of font family poppins, and I have used the global selector of star. Will reset the margin to 0, padding to 0, box sizing, border box, and font family poppins. Along with that, I need to add the styles to the body with the help of element selector name called body. We'll set the background color of blue color, min I to 100 VH, display flags, align items to be center. This will help us to set this entire content into the center of the screen, and will set the justify content to be center, flux direction to be column. If I save, if I go to the browser, here we can see the content is placed to center of the screen, and we can see the background color also. Here I have not refreshed the page. It will automatically refresh the page based on the changes whatever we are doing in the Visual Studio Code. That is how the live server will work. Now we need to add the styles to the container. So for that, here we are using as a class. We need to set the class with the class selector of dot with that value of container. For this container, we'll set the background color as white, border radius to 10 px, padding 25 px, box shadow 14 px, 14 px, 0 and 0 of that position, and then color of black. Margin top to 10 px. Will set the text align to be center. If I save, if I go to the browser, here we can see the container style with box shadow. Now we'll add the styles to this game score with the help of dot with class selector. We'll set display to flags, align items to be center, justify content to be space around. This will help to set the space around to this. Next thing, we'll add the styles to this playground. For this playground also, we'll set the display to flags. We'll set the grid gap of 30 px, flux direction to be column, because we need to set this two ends into the both side. Next thing, I will add the styles to this result field. For this result field, we'll set the display flux again, align items to be center, justify content to be center. We'll set the gap of 60 px. If I save, if I go to the browser, here we can see the difference. It was set to the flux direction of grid. Previously it was in the list view. Now we can able to see the column wise here. Now we'll add the styles to this eye icon. For that, inside this result fields, we'll have that eye element. For this eye element, we'll set the cursor to pointer, font size to 5 rem. We'll set the color of same blue color of the background. If I save, we'll get the styles here. We need to rotate the hands like both users shaking their hands to face. So for that, first we'll set that user select with the help of result field, and then user select of this eye icon we need to set. We'll set that transform rotate to 90-degree. If I save, if I go to the browser, now it is rotated to opposite player side. So the same thing, I need to rotate the CPU also with dot result fields dot bot select of I will set the transform rotate to minus 90-degree. If I save, if I go to the browser, here we can see the icon is rotated to opposite player, but the thumb finger is below. we need to rotate this on top, then only they are facing both ends. For that, we can set the rotate Y of 180 degree. If I save, now we can see the rotation of both and is facing to the same. Now we'll add the styles to this playground with the help of class selector dot playground. We'll set the display to flags. This will help to set this in a single line. So if I save, we can see this. We'll set the gap of 25 px of each chord. If I save, now we can see this. Next thing, we'll add the styles to this chord. For this, we'll use the same class selector. We'll set the border radius to same 10 px on that container. It will be uniform, text align to be center, cursor to pointer. We'll set the box shadow of 10 px, 10 px, 5 px of shadow with light blue color. We'll set the padding of inner spacing to be 10 px. If I save, if I go to the browser, here we can see the code with box shadow. Now we'll set the styles to this H4 element called with H4. We'll set the letter spacing to px. We'll set the color of white. If I save, we can't able to see this. Once we over, then only we need to display that. Before that, we'll add the styles to these icons. We'll use this FA solid because we have this is a common class. Else we need to use all this separate class. So I will use this common class of FA solid. This will applicable to all the fonts. We'll set the font size to 3 rem, padding inner spacing of 1 rem, top and bottom and right and left to 1.5 rem. We'll set the color of light blue color. If I save, if I go to the browser, here we can see the icon colors with font size. Once we over, we need to change the color of this card as well as the icon color. For that, we'll add that dot code of over. We'll set that effect and we'll set the background color to black. The same thing dot code of over will set that icon of FA solid color of that blue color. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I over on the code, we'll get that background color as well as the icon color. The same thing once we click, the same color should be set to this. For that I will use this same of dot code and dot active. Whenever we set these things to active, we'll set the background color to that code. The same thing to this also. Dot code dot active of FS solid. Whenever we are using this JavaScript and we set to this active, we'll change the background color as well as the icon. I'll show you how this will work. I will insert element. I will go to this element selector of this code, and for this code I will add the active from here. If I hit enter, here we can see the active color is set to permanent here. So I can remove from here. If I hit enter, it will not set again. So this functionality we need to do from JavaScript. And once we click, we need to shake this hands and we need to get the results. For that, we need to jump to the script.js. The script.js, we are going to declare the declaration. With the help of const, we'll set the const value of playground equal to document dot query selector with dot, and I will use the class of playground here. Because if this is a class, we need to use for dot as same as CSS, and we'll set the console.log to check what this contains. If I save, if I go to the browser, here in the insert element in the console, we can see the playground entire div with subchilds also. That is how the DOM tree will work. Now with the help of this declaration, we need to click and we need to set the active and we need to do the shake effect and we'll get the results as well. I will declare all the declarations here what I am using in this current projects. If you want, you can pause the video and you can declare it by your own. The first declaration contains will get all the icons inside this playground, and then second declaration as playground as we already seen, and this is what the results we are going to set, and this is what the user selection of I what will get from selection, and then bot selection, and this is for user score and CPU score. Now we need to add one more global declaration of let user score data, comma CPU score data. We'll set this value of 0, 0. This will help us to add the scores and display it here on the top. The next thing we need to add the selection. For that we have already added the declaration of select options dot for each. This will help us to get all the selectors inside this. We'll check what's present inside this. I will add this parameter of element comma index. We'll add the function inside this. I will add the console.log of this element and index. If I save, if I go to the browser here in the insert, we'll get this all selectors inside this playground. Here this is the first of rock, and this is what the paper, and this is what the scissor with index of 0, 1 and 2. With the help of this, we need to add the event listener of on click for this. So I will clear this. We'll set that element of dot add event listener of click. We'll set the function of e. Inside this, we need to set the active class to that selection of the code. So we'll check this what this function e contains console.log of e. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I click on this rock, we'll get that pointer event instead of e. We'll set that e dot target. This will get the target element. If I click again, we'll get that icon. If I click again, we'll get that and icon. If I click this, we'll get that scissor. Once we click, we need to set the active class to the code. How we can set that? So here we have a option to get the parent element of dot parent element. If I save again, if I go to the browser, if I click on this rock, we'll get this code of this parent element, same as paper and same as scissor. If we go and check, we'll get that over on that element what we are overing below in the console. Here we have get this code. Now we need to set the styles to this with dot class list dot add of that active class what we have already added here. So I will use this here. I will remove this console. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I click this first code, now we can see the active is added. If I go to the browser for this code, here we can see this. If I click on second code, we can see this, the active is added and then color also changed. If I click this, here we have added. Now all the three codes is selected. So as a user, we need to select only one options. The other options will CPU pick. Once we click other option, the other active class should be removed. That is very simple. So we can do this of the select option. Already we have the select option with for each. We'll get that element inside here. We'll directly remove the class from here. El dot parent element of same dot class list dot remove of that active. This will work once we click this. So I will cut this. I will paste inside this. Once we click this icon, this should run this for each and will remove all the active class of that code and will set the active class to that selected one. So I will go to the browser. If I click, now we can see the active class is added from here. If I click on pepper, we'll remove it on the top and it is adding to the second code. The same as if I click, it will added based on the selection. So now we can't able to see the all code is selecting here. Now once we click, we need to start adding the animation effect to this right. For that, we need to add one more class to this playground. What we have already added the declaration here. dot class list dot add of class start. If I save, if I go to the browser, here this is the playground. If I click this, now the class start is added to the playground, but the animation is not happen. We need to add the styles to this. For that, I will jump to the style.css. Here next to the playground, I will add the playground dot start. If this start class is present, for this user select, we'll set the transform origin of right and will set the animation of user shake of 0.8 second is infinite. If I save, if I go and click, nothing will happen because we need to add this animation. So I will copy the same and I will paste it below. Instead of user, I will set to the bot select, same as instead of right, we need to set to the left. Instead of user, we'll set for bot select. Now we need to add the keyframes for this animation. At keyframe with identifier of user shake, we'll set the 50% of this transform to rotate 10 degree. If I save, if I go to the browser, we can see the animation is automatically added because here the playground start is appended here. So the same thing I will copy from here and I will set to bot select instead of user shake. I will change to bot shake. If I save, if I go to the browser, here we can see the animation of seesaw. So we no need this. We need a shake effect on both sides. Instead of 10, I will set to minus 10 degree. If I save, if I go to the browser, now we can see the minus 10 degree and it was shaking like both hands. Same as once we select, the other option should not be select. For that, here with dot playground dot start dot fa solid fa code will set this both class will set the property of pointer events to be none. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I refresh, now the ants was not shaking. Once we click this option, now we can see the animation and we can select any other options here. So once we get the results and again we need to reset. So we need to do that with the help of JavaScript. So I will jump to the script.js. We'll add one const with check result of function with index of the parameter and we'll set for arrow function. We'll get the random selection of the CPU, right? For that, I will create one more let with random number equal to math.floor of math.random into 3 because here we have only 3 codes. We need to get option of anyone from here. So I will use this console.log to check this random number and I will call this function inside this on click. Whenever we are clicking this and we need to call this and I will pass the index to this function. I will let you know what this index will do. If I save, if I go to the browser, here in the console, if I click on paper, we'll get that 2. If I refresh, if I click on other thing, we'll get that 0. If I click again, we'll get 1. This will pick a random number into 3. With the help of this random number, we can pick a CPU select and will match the following. For that, we need to add the set time mode because we need to use some timing for this animation and will show the results. For that, we need to use this set time mode. We need to delay for 2500 milliseconds. Inside this, we'll remove this playground dot class list dot remove of start. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I click on paper, it will run. We can't click again. After 2.5 seconds, the animation is stopped because we have removed the class of start. And now we can make the selection of rock. It is start the animation. After 2.5 seconds, it stopped. That is how the thing will work. Once we click this, we need to pick the user select and we need to change the icon here, right? For that, first we need to remove the icons from here of user select dot class list dot remove of this class of fa solid. Instead of fa solid, we can directly remove this class. I will copy this. I will do this for same of bot select also. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I click on paper, after 2.5 seconds, we'll remove the class. Now we need to set the user selection as well as the computer selection. For that, user select dot class list, we need to add the class list to your right of dot. How we can add this class? For that, already we have this icon group. Based on the selection, I will use the same select option of this index. So only we have passed this index. What is this index contains? This index based on the selection will get the index of the code. So we'll get this index. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I click this paper, after 2.5 seconds, we'll get that and of this icon. Right now we ignore this error because we have set this add of empty. So only we are getting the error. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I click on scissor, we'll get that scissor icon. Here this is a scissor. If I click on rock, after 2.5 seconds, we'll get that rock. We need to set this icon for here. So for this only we need to pick the class right of dot get attribute of class. I will copy this and I will place this class inside this user class list. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I click on rock, it is loading the animation and will get the error here. The token provided FA solid and FA and backfist. It is saying the contents of space character which are not valid in tokens. Here we have get this FA solid and space and FA icon. So this is saying this space is not applicable. Anyway, we need to set only this class, right? For that, simply we can split this with space and we'll set the first option to this. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I click on rock, we'll get that FA and backrest. Again, it is getting an error. Sorry, this is not an array. This is a function of split. I will change this. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I click on rock, now we'll get that backrest. Here the rock is fixed. If I click on paper, it will set the paper here. If I click on scissor, it will set the scissor here. The same as we need to set the value of CPU also. For the CPU, we have already get this random value. So I will copy this and I will paste it below. Instead of user, we'll set this as a bot select. For the index, we'll set the random number. The same thing we'll set as a class. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I click on paper, now the animation will get. Now this is paper and now this is scissor. This time the user is win. We need to change the results also. So again I will click on scissors. Now we'll get the results but the direction is on the top. We need to fix this on facing of the two users. So if I click on paper, again we are not getting that and icon. That also we need to fix. First we'll fix this scissors. For this I need to jump to the style.css. For this user select of fa and scissors, I will copy this class. Whenever this class present, we need to set the transform rotate to 0 degree. If I save, if I go to the browser, still it is not fixed because we have already added that class on top. For this, I need to set for important. If I save, if I go to the browser, now we can see this. Now it's rotate to 0 degree. Now again, we need to change to the rotation of rotate Y with the direction of 180 degree. If I save, here we can see this. The same thing I need to do for the bot selection of bot select and then same and scissor will set for 0 degree and Y to 0 degree. If I save, if I go to the browser, now we can see the scissors. It's showing opposite sides of the users. If I click on paper, still the icon is same. So I need to change that. So if I clicking the paper, still this is scissors. Why? Because I will go here, I will check this user select. Here we have and as well as the scissor. If I click on this rock, here it is rock, scissor and first all the three classes added here. We need to remove that. Again, I will jump to the script.js. Whenever we click, we need to remove this entire class of that user select dot remove attribute of class. This will help us to remove the entire class because it was appending on the class for multiple times. So I will use this for bot select also. First we'll remove this. Once we remove, and we need to set the user select of class list dot add. We need to set the icons here of fa solid comma. We'll set the same icon what we are using for this rock. I will copy and paste here. I will copy this entire line. The same thing we need to set for bot select also. If I save, if I go to the browser, now if I click on rock, it started the animation. If I click on pepper, now we can see the hand icon, it is shaking. Once we click again, it is reset and it will show the hand icon and it will show the icons based on the users as well as the computer. Now we need to determine the winners based on the user and computer choice. For that in script.js, I need to create one more function with determine winner with two options. One is user choice, second one is CPU choice. So we need to pass these parameters and we need to find the results. How we can find the results? For that, we'll create one object with let game results equal to object. Will define the results for this. We'll set this rock and rock of this first letter of or. Once this is present, we'll set this match was draw, and then if paper and paper also will set for draw, will set scissor and scissor, this is also draw. If this rock and scissors, rock will broke the scissors, so the user will win. I will set this as a user, the same as paper and rock. Now also the user will win. And then last one of this combination, scissor and paper. If it is scissor, we'll cut the paper, then the user will win. The same thing we need to do for this rock and paper. If this is rock and that is a paper, then the CPU will win. Then paper and scissors, then CPU will win. In this combination, scissors and rock, rock will break the scissors and here the CPU will win. These are all the combinations. We have to find the results. With these results, we need to pick this rock or paper based on the combinations. For this only, we have used this as a index. Inside this, I will call this determine winner and will post the index from the user select and then random number from CPU select. And here I will set the console.log to check user choice as well as the CPU choice. If I save, if I go to the browser here in the console, if I click on paper, after 2.5 seconds, the user is selected as pepper. The array starts from 0. This is 0 and this is 1. Now we'll get that 1. The computer choice of random number, this is 0. With the help of this, we need to pick the selection. So how we can do that? So for this, we'll create one more let of user value equal to null. One more let with CPU value equal to empty and let winner equal to game results. We need to pick this off from this value. For this, we can use this user value plus CPU value. But this is empty, right? Or we can pick this is a rock or scissors. So for that, we can create one array here of rock for the 0 and then pepper for 1 of P and then scissor of 2 of S. So we'll get this from user choice and then same thing I will copy this array and I will paste it for the CPU choice and then here instead of user I will set to CPU. Now we'll see the console.log of this user value plus CPU value. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I click on rock, this is all for the user and then CPU value of 1 that is pepper. If I click on another, we'll get that 1 and 2. Now this is pepper and scissor. This is how the value will get. Based on this, we'll find the winner. Now I will pass this value to this get results. What we are getting this as a user and CPU value. If I go and click the pepper, we'll get that user because this is one of this pepper and zero of this rock. So the user will win the combination of P and R. This is what the combination. Now the user is one. And if I click another selection of scissor, and then user select is 0, this is rock, scissor and rock, then the CPU will win. So based on this, we need to set the values here. Once we click, we need to change this let's pay to informative message. I will add the value here of results dot inner text equal to please wait. And once we get this result of CPU or user, we need to attach that results dot text content equal to user select triple equal to CPU select. Sorry, instead of user select, this is user value triple equal to CPU value. Then this should set to match draw like this. If these two matches, we'll set this value to here. Instead of this match draw, we'll add the string concatenation of this. We'll set the match and we'll get the value from winners. This will send if it is draw or users and CPU. If this matches, we'll set for the match draw. Else, we'll set the same string concatenation of winner of one. Close this. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I click on pepper, now we'll get that error message. Here we are getting the results cannot set properties of null. Setting inner text. Here we are setting this results for this document dot get element by ID of results. So I will jump to the index.html. Here we have the ID of only result. So I will change to results. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I click on paper, we'll change the text to please wait. Boom. We'll get that dynamic results from that object. Again, if I click on rock, it will changing. Now we'll get the match draw because the user select also 0, computer select also 0. If I change to scissor, we'll get this scissor and pepper. Now the user will want. Now we need to add the counts based on the wins. For that, next to the winner, we'll set that if condition if winners double equal to user. Same thing I will copy and will check for CPU. If this present, we have already created this two global selector of user score data and then CPU score data. This is a int, so we can directly set to plus plus. It will increment the value. And for this CPU also we have same, and I will add the plus plus to this, and we need to set the user score dot inner text equal to this user score data. Same thing, we will set the CPU score and this value of CPU score data. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I click on paper, we'll get that animation, and now the match will draw. Both will get for 0 0. Again I will click on rock. Now the user is 1. We'll get that count of 1. See, now once we have finished, but the user is 1. Again I need to select on rock, but still the selection is there. We need to remove that. For that I will use this same for each from here. I'll copy this and I will paste it next to this result. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I click on paper, we'll get this user one. Now the selection is went and then count also added. If I click on rock, now the match is drawn. There is no points to user and CPU. If I click on scissor, now the CPU is 1, we'll get that point of 1 1 for each. If I click rock, we'll get that same. Here the two icons is same. The text says CPU 1, but the ands we need to show some difference. So for that we can change some colors here. Inside this winners, we'll set this user select dot style dot color of green. If the user want, we'll set this color of user to green, but the CPU color, we need to set some opacity. Instead of color, we'll set to opacity. Bot select dot style dot opacity equal to 0.6. This will show as slightly hidden. So I will copy this and I will replace this because this is the bot select, and if the bot wins, because this is CPU, if the CPU wins, we need to set this as green, and then user should be light color. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I click on paper, we'll get that animation, and here we can see the light gray out for this who lost the game, and we can see the green color to who won the game. If I click, still the color is there. Now we can see the both as green. So we need to remove that. While clicking this, we can use this same of remove attribute. Instead of class, we are setting this as a style. I will set this as style. If I save, if I go to the browser, if I click on paper, we'll get that animation, and we'll get that user of 1 with green color, and then CPU of 0, and it will be like hidden. If I click on rock, now it will reset the color, and now the CPU got 1 point and the color is changed to CPU, and it is grayed out. If I click on again, we'll get this color, and then effect. If I click, we'll get the count. If I click on rock again, it will start the animation and we'll get the counts. So we can do how many times we want, and that's it. You have just built a rock paper scissors game using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Feel free to expand on this project by adding more features or improving the styling. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell icon for more tutorials. If you are interested in JavaScript projects like this, I have created and added a playlist link in the description. Please do check it out. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, keep coding and keep learning. See you in the next video. Happy coding. Bye for now. Have a nice day.